The Kraken Supercomputer.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is January 13th, 2021. This is episode 286, and today, Kraken Supercomputer? And I am not the voice of Trump, but I am your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the chaos and egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. I have a nice leaf blower blowing outside my window here. So if you hear that coming through, that's just the engaging soundscape of the Basilverse.
Excellent. It's a wacky Wednesday, eh?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Wacky Wednesday. Well, Gonz, before we get too far into it, I will say I'm watching the live feed of the House of Representatives vote to impeach the Trump man. And there's only 5 votes left to be cast. We have 231 yay and 197 nay. And for those who need... The yeas pulled ahead.
Pulled away, yeah.
Yeah, and for those who need a reminder, this is just the first vote. If you'll remember, during his first impeachment, everybody talks about how this is his second impeachment. I don't know if that's technically true, but even PBS is calling it the second impeachment because the first one never made it past the Senate. Yeah. Now, this one looks as if it will pass in the House again, which is they only need a simple majority to pass the House, and then it'll go on to the Senate. And with now a Democrat-controlled Senate, we'll probably pass there as well. So very interesting. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this House vote live on the air. 5 no votes so far. We'll see if they let it rest there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it passes in the Senate there. But, there's all sorts of theories as to why they're even trying to impeach him with less than, a week away from the inauguration of Biden. But we'll get into some of that. Before we do, though, real quick, I do want to mention that there was the memorial service for Jedediah Martin. He was one of our Canarians out there, and he passed away. Was it last week, I think?
I believe it was last week, yeah.
Yeah, so just wanted to, say our condolences to the family and friends and throw this out there.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
I was tuning in a little bit to the memorial service that streamed on Facebook, and so I didn't get to catch the whole thing, but it's kind of sad. Sad to see such a young man.
Yes, it is. He was a young guy, all things considered. So thank you for being such a good member of the community there, Jedediah, and we'll see you soon in a blink of an eye here.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we need? Oh, just since we officially started the show, remember, folks, to like the video on YouTube while you're watching live. We're still early enough in the show. I know a lot of people don't care about the algorithms and keeping the show going, but, on our side here, we have to do what we can to make sure that we show up on people's timelines there. So go ahead, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit the little bell. I will say this as an additional note. Most of our viewers come in on the Face Like the Sun channel over on YouTube. I will say to those Face Like the Sunners, you're going to want to follow the Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel as well, just in case. You never know. It's always good to get multiple chances for notifications when the show goes live. We get a lot of complaints about people not getting notifications. So that's a good way to make sure something comes across your desk so you don't miss a show.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Bell button all.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Well, Gons,
Yeah.
as we've learned over the past few episodes, the election and political section of the show has been running quite long recently, and for good reason, not to say that it shouldn't be doing that. But I think we need to get the Flippy update out of the way up at the top.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, real quick, if you're new to the show, we'll let you know that Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to discuss how robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing you can do about it today. This is more Flippy adjacent, but this is coming from psychology.
Psychology.
I always do that specifically with this website. It's Psychology Today, or if you're smart like me, Psychology Today. And the headline is 3 ways we can be tricked into liking robots. And it goes like this. Service robots interact with us in retail, hospitality, healthcare, and warehouse settings. They can come in humanoid forms, and they can be fully or semi-autonomous. The market for service robots has been strong and is only growing. In fact, COVID-19 has contributed to the market's growth. Robots have helped with disinfection manufacturing and home delivery. Researchers have begun to explore the psychology behind our interactions with robots. One team recently published a study in the Journal of Applied Psychology, or Psychology. It looked at the hidden factors which affect the way we respond to service robots. The results are telling. The researchers wanted to find out whether we would be more satisfied with service robots that are anthropomorphized, or in other words, with robots that have human features. To find out, they started with an AI-enabled robotic arm. That's Flippy. They just didn't want to say it, but Flippy's in here. Capable of learning and performing tasks such as painting and packing items and inserting printed circuit boards. There were 3 features of the robot that the team manipulated in the study. One was the voice, either a female voice in an American accent in the anthropomorphism condition, or a mechanistic voice in the control condition. 2 was the name, either Allison in the anthropomorphism condition, or robotic arm 53174 in the control condition. And 3 was face, either a face displayed on the screen with moving lips while speaking in the anthropomorphism condition, or a blank screen in the control condition. The researchers recruited undergraduate business students at a large university in Southeast Asia. When a participant entered the lab, the robot introduced itself and asked them to complete some initial survey questions. When finished, the participant told the robot, "I am done." At that point, the robot asked the participant to choose one of 2 snacks, potato chips or a chocolate bar. The experiment was set up so that the robot would sometimes give the participant the wrong snack. After the snack was delivered, a research assistant entered the lab and asked the participant to complete a customer satisfaction survey. They were asked to agree or disagree with the following. 1. I feel satisfied with the robot. 2, I found real enjoyment during my interactions with the robot. 3, I consider the robot to be rather pleasant. The researchers found that in general, the robot received higher customer satisfaction ratings when it was anthropomorphized. This difference was driven by the perception of the robot as possessing enhanced experience and agency. The team also found that, and this is the interesting part, in the condition in which the robot was set up to give the wrong snack, participants who interacted with the anthropomorphized version of the robot were less dissatisfied than the participants who interacted with the version that was not anthropomorphized. A future is creeping up on us in which our daily lives will be replete with interactions with artificially intelligent robots. What can we take away from this study? It all depends on what we're interested in. These researchers see their work as contributing to the design of future service robots that can deliver greater customer satisfaction. For this reason, they argue that service robots should be assigned names, a human voice, and a face. Dun, dun, dun. But we may also look at this from a different angle. We can ask, what are the implications for human happiness if we increasingly interact with robots that we are tricked into perceiving as human? It is, of course, too soon to know the long-term consequences, but we may find that it becomes less common for us to try to forge the kinds of connections with machines that we would with human beings.
It may become common. Not less common.
Yeah. Yes. But we may find that it becomes common for us to try to forge the kinds of connections with machines that we would with human beings. The risk is that this will lead to our suffering from feelings of disconnection that we do not fully understand, and that society will face an epidemic of loneliness even more grave than the one we face today. So there you go. They are trying to figure out if we should make robots look like us or just keep them in robot form, which has been a discussion, long-term discussion for us. What I found was interesting was people were giving more slack to the human looking robots, which I find is so funny because, we're creating these robots because they should be more efficient. They should get rid of more, human error, et cetera, et cetera. But if we make them look like humans, they'll get away with being bad robots, and we won't hold them to the standard by which these mechanical servants of ours should be held. So another reason not to give your robots a name, folks. Never name your robots, which is a piece of advice that I have personally not followed. But there you go. Very interesting. They're actually starting to look into it and put research on the books about whether these robots should look like us or not.
Yeah, that's fascinating that the robot sounding machines were, I guess people were more upset if it's like they expect more from the robot.
Well, that's what I mean. And we should expect the maximum amount from our robots. If these robots are going to be forced upon us, we should have very high expectations.
Yeah, so it's interesting that if the machine said, I want a chocolate bar, and they're like, here is a cat or whatever.
Here's,
you're like,
I wouldn't be too mad about that.
Lame machine, didn't get the right thing. Yeah. But if it's like, here is your cat, then they're like, it's just must be just a misunderstanding.
Right. It also shows our low expectations from other human beings.
Yeah, it does. It exposes the sin nature.
Yes, right. Well, there you go. That's the Flippy update. And the live impeachment update is that, of course, it passed with a simple majority in the House of Representatives. Now, just so people don't get too excited, for a true impeachment, it needs to pass in the House, and then it also needs to pass in the Senate. So there's two parts of this process. However, the last impeachment did pass in the House the first time, but did not pass in the Senate. And we will see what happens after this, which I think technically inaugurations of new Senate members, many of them have gone through. So I think Democrats do hold the current majority.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out for that.
We'll see how it goes. I don't know when that's happening. I don't know if it happens I don't think it happens the same day, but I'll see what I can find.
What if they do it after Biden is inaugurated or is brought into office? I mean, they still technically, I think in principle they could too. Doesn't it keep Trump from running again? Is that part of the...
So that's the big thing with this is they really want to officially get him impeached because that means he can't run in 2024, especially if he gets impeached for the reasons of insurrection or sedition or whatever language they're using. Because as the 14th Amendment states, if a person, just to paraphrase, if a person in the government is found to be guilty of sedition or treason or insurrection or giving comfort to anyone who does do those things. They are no longer able to hold office in the government. So I think maybe that's the main thing. Now, like I said, it gets a little complicated because he didn't fully get impeached the first time around. But I don't think the charges on that first impeachment necessarily would have kept him from running again. I'm a little unclear on if any impeachment whatsoever keeps him from running, but I do know that if he's specifically impeached for the reasons I just listed earlier, that would disqualify him for running in 2024.
I could picture Trump sitting there. Somebody needs to put Trump's face over Obi-Wan Kenobi. The episode 4 of Star Wars, where he's fighting Darth Vader, and he says, "If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." We do it in the Trump voice, you know. If you strike me down, we will launch a new age.
Everything's funnier in the Trump voice.
It is. So we're gonna get into some of this, I guess, Trump election politics stuff. And usually we play the election fraud jingle, but I'm just going to play this as the jingle.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah. And you wanted to talk AOC.
Well, I just wanted to mention
Love
this
AOC.
Floating around, and we haven't talked about AOC recently. So this little video was floating around Rumble, got sent to us here, and I think you can just play it.
That southern states are not red states. They are suppressed states, which means the only way that our country is going to heal.
Are you playing it?
Is through the actual liberation
Have I lost guns?
of southern states, the actual liberation of the poor, the actual liberation of working people from economic, social, and racial oppression. That's the only way.
What?
Yeah. So we need to liberate the southern states.
Well, not just southern states, but like everything. Like what? Hold on. I'm going to go about halfway back here.
Southern states, the actual liberation of the poor.
Okay, liberation of the poor. Got it.
The actual liberation of working people.
Actual liberation of working people. Is that like a secret code way of saying UBI, Universal Basic Income?
Right.
Hold on, Basil.
It's like somebody.
Your screen did the thing again. You're going to have to not log off, but shut off video and turn it back on.
The green thing?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Skype video, but it does this thing where it.
You're asking a lot of your video cards. Maybe.
I know. I have a lot of things running.
It's like somebody in her, I don't know, staff or something said, you can't say literal anymore. Stop saying literal. It doesn't mean what you think it means. And so she's now just saying actual, as if, you know.
What I mean by literal is actual.
That doesn't help AOC. But yeah, so apparently, according to AOC, there needs to be a liberation of poor people, a liberation of working class, a liberation of...
but what does that even mean? Like, what? I don't understand. Like,
that's a great question, Gons.
What do you mean liberation of the working class?
Well, I think in her mind, liberation of the working class means getting universal basic income.
That's what I was thinking.
Or something. But yes, she was also talking about the liberation of the southern states because they're not actually red states. They're just...
enslaved or whatever she said.
Enslaved, yeah.
What else? Let me see here. Is she... did the video stop working? Come on, Rumble. Yeah, Rumble stopped working. All right, well.
Yeah, that's okay. We got the point.
There's
AOC. Nothing else to go in there except for, she still exists and she still
exists.
Saying words.
Good analysis. She still exists.
Mm-hmm. She still exists.
Good job.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
All right, well, let's get into some Trump stuff here.
We will launch a new age.
And yesterday, Trump spoke for the first time since the siege on the Capitol. And this is Politico.com. Trump tries to defend his pre-riot speech as totally appropriate. And did you watch the speech?
No, I didn't watch it. No,
Okay.
I just read some stuff afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty tame. And it was, it's just him saying some things about the wall and There was a part where he mentioned at the very beginning the 25th Amendment. He said that it's nothing, and that it's gonna haunt Biden if they try to do it. And he says, "Be careful what you wish for."
Ooh.
So it sounded like a threat to me.
Yes.
But okay, I just want to read a couple paragraphs here to get an idea. Ooh, I'm losing connection on my document here.
Oh no.
President Donald Trump on Tuesday defended as, quote, totally appropriate the speech he made at a rally last week that was followed by his supporters launching a deadly siege on the Capitol. In his first 5 remarks since the violence last Wednesday, Trump deflected blame and sought to highlight other politicians' comments last summer about protests against racial injustice and police brutality. Quote, "If you read my speech, and many people have done it, and I've seen it both in the papers and in the media on television, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate," Trump told reporters at Joint Base Andrews en route to Alamo, Texas. Quote, "If you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places, that was a real problem. What they said," Trump continued. And it just kind of goes on and quotes him here. And, I have something highlighted. Let's see what he says here. Quote, "You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong," Trump said at the time. That's part of the speech there. This is Politico. "Those remarks and others by the president have possibly exposed him to criminal charges for provoking the rioters and also serve as a basis for an impeachment article accusing him of inciting the insurrection at the Capitol."
Yeah.
You can't get any more subjective than that. You can't take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. Oh, he must mean break into the Capitol building and break into Pelosi's office. And I mean, what these people are unhinged. But anyway, so that's Trump's thing. And I did see a few people in the last few days talk about, Trump mentioned the next administration. And, half the people saying, he's conceding, and the other half saying, yeah, the next administration, the next Trump administration, really holding on to that hope.
It continues. The hopium continues.
The hopium continues. But I feel like most people are starting to turn away from that, but there are some folks with a very large audience. We'll talk about a couple of those people in a moment here, but we do have that military memo. Did you want to talk about that real quick? What is?
Let's just mention it real quick. This has been floating around. So for those of you who are not super engaged with social media, good job. Congratulations. But this was floating around and thought it was noteworthy. This was an unclassified memo from the Joint Chiefs of Staff that came out, what was it, yesterday or today?
I think a couple days ago, actually.
Sorry,
browser's completely frozen. So
a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we'll push through.
Did you want to do the Office of the Press Secretary statement from the president first? Since I got there, I was able to open that window. So go ahead and talk about that real quick before the memo.
Okay. Well, yeah, this was an interesting thing as well. Let me pull it up here so I can actually look at it. Yes, this was another one floating around, but this was different. This was from the Office of the Press Secretary. It was a White House memo for immediate release. Came out today. It says here, statement from the president. In light of reports of more demonstrations, I urge that there must be no violence, no law breaking, and no vandalism of any kind. That is not what I stand for, and it is not what America stands for. I call on all capitalized Americans to help ease tensions and calm tempers. Thank you. And that would theoretically be coming from the voice of Donald Trump. However, I've not seen a copy that was signed or anything, but it's just a memo coming from the White House press secretary. It was getting a little bit of criticism because it's kind of written like a tweet.
It does look like a tweet.
It's got like some all caps words, and I don't know, just is done in more of a conversational style, which is a classic Trump tweet thing, instead of the super, hyper crafted tweets that you would see from a lot of other politicians, including Biden. But there you go. There's an official White House statement saying to cease the violence and calm tempers. And I'm wondering if this had anything to do with his impeachment, or if he's just trying to get ahead of it, or he's just being clear about he doesn't want any more violence to happen. So both of those things might be true. But it's interesting because there really is there's this weird dialectical situation between, even within the Trump supporting camps, being that, some of them, they don't want to be violent. They just want to protest like normal people.
That's the majority of the people, I would say.
I think that is the majority. Yeah. And there's the other side would be, we need to rise up, and constitutionally we can fight a tyrannical government. However, there's been a lot of interesting data points to suggest that might, the majority of that group might be maybe crafted by the other side, trying to make the constitutionalists look crazy. So there you go. That just came out. That was one document. There's a couple of documents that came out, and you have the other one ready?
I think so. Here it is. Yep, ready to go. There it is.
This one was also floating around the social medias, and this was, like I said, was a memo from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It says, Memorandum for the Joint Force. Subject: Message to the Joint Force. The American people have trusted the armed forces of the United States to protect them and our Constitution for almost 250 years. As we have done throughout our history, the U.S. military will obey lawful orders from civilian leadership, support civil authorities to protect lives and property, ensure public safety in accordance with the law, and remain fully committed to protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The violent riot in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021 was a direct assault on the U.S. Congress, a direct assault, the Capitol building, and our constitutional process. We mourn the deaths of the 2 Capitol policemen and others connected to these unprecedented events.
Which, now, by the way, let me real quick. One of them, we mentioned died of suicide, or at least was reported that he died of suicide.
So is that the second one they're talking about?
Yeah, but I think he was shot in the chest. He was shot in the chest, and then he died of suicide, which is the weirdest combination of things.
Yeah, what I was seeing was that they were calling it an apparent suicide, but it was from a gunshot wound to the chest. So they were...
Okay.
And this has always been kind of a, I don't know, not really something to get into, but yeah, how to best...
categorize,
commit that act with a firearm. Apparently, committing suicide with a gun to the head is not the most effective way. So people, at least that's the story behind it, whenever they find someone with a gunshot wound to the chest, and then they say, oh, well, they really meant it then. So yeah, I don't know, that they are counting that as the second death coming from the riots. But we move on. We witnessed actions inside the Capitol building that were inconsistent with the rule of law. The rights of freedom of speech and assembly do not give anyone the right to resort to violence, sedition, and insurrection. As service members, we must embody the values and ideals of the nation. We support and defend the Constitution. Any act to disrupt the constitutional process is not only against our traditions, values, and oath, it is against the law. On January 20th, 20th, 2021, in accordance with the Constitution confirmed by the states and the courts and certified by Congress, President-elect Biden will be inaugurated and will become our 46th Commander-in-Chief. To our men and women deployed at home, safeguarding our country, stay ready, keep your eyes on the horizon, and remain focused on the mission. We honor your continued service in defense of every American. So this was a memo that went out to all armed forces there, specifically calling and signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and specifically calling for support of the new administration and the inauguration on the 20th. Yeah. So there you go. And the reason I wanted to kind of start with this was that, part of the weird rumblings, the unconfirmed rumblings that that I went on a whole rant about last episode and we'll touch on again today, is that, Trump still is in control of the military and he can use the military to accomplish whatever goal they want him to accomplish. And this was just very interesting. It seems like the Joint Chiefs of Staff are trying to get ahead of any possible actions that the military might be involved with. It's just a very interesting and ominous memo to go out considering the circumstances. Yeah. And this obviously verified and confirmed by people that are in the military that I know personally. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like some kind of fake thing. I have seen a lot of actual confirmation on this, right, which is more than we can say for a lot of the stuff people have been saying about the military recently. Yeah. But I've still seen people take that last paragraph there, to our men and women deployed and at home, safeguarding our country, stay ready. Like, right. I know. Well, that's ready. The funny part, because that obviously harkens back to, some recent things, even with President Trump and the Boogaloo Boys or the Proud Boys, whoever, when he said his stand down and stand by type of thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a very interesting linguistic connection there, which a lot of people are digging into and reading more into, kind of like the red folder thing. Who knows? But it's interesting given the circumstances. And remain focused on the mission. What's the mission? The mission. What is the mission? To take out the deep state swamp. So cryptic. Yeah. So that's one thing to point out is the official, the joint, the memorandum for the joint force that went out. And but the hopium is being peddled quite a bit. And one of the people that I even got a message from a couple people who are friends that were like, hey, have you heard of this guy? His name is Simon Parks. He's really got my friends all riled up about the whole situation. Now, consider this real quick. Simon Parks has a YouTube channel. It's got 632,000 subscribers. He's gained a whole bunch of subs in the last week or so. Yeah. And he had a video on the 10th that has 3.4 million views. 3.4 million views on YouTube in 3 days.
In 3 days.
That's like that. I don't think I've seen numbers like that since the Rebecca Black music video.
And meanwhile, YouTube is shutting down the Trump account, is what I last heard. So just consider that. Okay, YouTube's saying, okay, this guy, totally cool, 3 million plus views, do it. Trump, shut it down. And if you hadn't heard of Simon Parks, I tweeted this out, if I can get my browser to work here. Basically, what I said was people asking about Simon Parks. Number one, he claimed he was adopted by a 9-foot alien mother in between 2011 and 12. So totally legit.
I feel like we need to talk about what his current claims are before the punchline here.
Oh, that's the punchline? All right. Well, he claimed.
So why you mentioned he has a video that's out that has 3 million views. What is he claiming in this video?
He's claiming in the video that Trump signed the Insurrection Act. That was his big thing. Oh, he signed it.
Right. Which we've gone over.
What just happened? We've temporarily limited some of your account features. Apparently, apparently live on air, my Twitter account.
Are we getting live censored?
I think I just got live censored on Twitter.
Oh.
What did I say?
On Twitter.
What's up, Jack? What's going on, Jack? Why are you censoring me, bro?
It's just a matter of time, Gons. You're a rabble rouser.
We both talk about Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, as long as it's not on YouTube, we're fine.
I guess. I don't know. I'm still able to. Am I able to log? Nope. I'm completely blocked out of Twitter, which is not good for the rest of the show because I have a whole bunch of stuff from Twitter. But
oh boy.
Anyway, my whole point was that
he was making some claims, some very strong claims about his connection.
Yeah. So yes, that Trump was emailing him. Or was it him or someone that he knows? But basically, like
allegedly, he has direct ties.
Direct ties, yeah, claiming direct ties to Trump. I mean, that's third hand maybe, but like to say I got an email from Trump. Like,
yeah, so that's why he was getting so much attention, and we've gone over this last episode. They banned Trump on everything, so he can't have direct contact with anybody as far as social media is concerned. And so what that's done is it's left open a void. It's a vacuum, almost like a communication vacuum where there's been a lot of people coming out, and so, many of them aren't saying directly that we have direct contact with Trump. That is an especially bold claim from this guy. But given the fact that he claims to have been, adopted, was it adopted or abducted?
Adopted.
Right. So, which is another it's one thing to be abducted. But to be adopted by aliens, 9-foot aliens, that you kind of just have to question, can we believe everything this guy says?
Okay, so here's...
I don't know, maybe he is.
Maybe he is.
Maybe his adoptive parents are 9-foot aliens. I don't know.
Well, there are people in the chat saying, he didn't... Here's the thing. If somebody emails, this is like the perfect time to actually... claim to be Trump and email people with some sensational claims, and people can fall for it very easily. People fall for phishing emails all the time.
Well, there's a hunger for communication from Trump. And, when you get really hungry, you'll eat whatever's put in front of you.
Right. Yep.
And you won't think about it. And that's what we're seeing. And that's what's, the origination of a lot of very wild claims about some secret plan going on. And as we've broke down in the past episode or two, unsubstantiated, unconfirmed, and not only that, unconfirmable things. Claims
show the email.
About Trump and his plans.
You can show the email.
What?
You can show the email that he got. If he claimed that, some people in the chat saying he didn't claim that. Well,
I'm talking more about the secret plans of Trump taking, signing the quote unquote signing the Insurrection Act for some reason, and taking control of the military, being in secret military bases where he's controlling the chess pieces, etc. Just as a quick aside, Gons, I am on your Twitter account here. It says, caution, this account is temporarily restricted. You're seeing this warning because there has been some unusual activity from this account. Do you still want to view it? Yes, view profile. Aha, I'm in the mainframe.
Okay, good.
Yes, so it's still here.
Oh, was Simon...
They just wanted to warn me that this was a dangerous thing to do.
People saying Simon was banned from YouTube today. Let me see if that's... I'm looking at his channel right now. Maybe it's... If I refresh,
I think if anybody claims to be speaking for or on behalf or have a direct connection to Trump, I think that's a one-way ticket to Bansville at this point.
Yeah. Well, it looks like his channel's still here. I mean, at least at this point, his channel is still up. So, I don't know.
Well, there you go. Debunked.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll see. The Guardian... Back in March 27th, 2012, published this article, Labor Counselor's Real Mother Was a 9-Foot Green Alien. And just a couple things to mention here. It's fair to say about the Labor leadership that our own Ed Jacobs has just done that they're taking time to enthuse the UK public with their proposal, blah, 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 blah. Local councillor Simon Parks, who has had no problem with attracting interest, he says that he was adopted as a baby by a 9-foot-tall green alien.
Aliens.
Which explained that she was his real, more important mother.
Aliens.
Later, when he was 11, she took him on board her spacecraft, and a deal was struck about contact between the two worlds.
Now, you said he's a labor secretary. Is he
I think he was. I don't know that he is now.
A British politician?
Yeah, that's what it seems like here. Is it different, Simon? Yeah, but I think it's the same one. But a lot of the people that claim that they've had like direct contact with aliens, they're always having these experiences where they're like, "Oh, we are the special ones, the chosen ones to deliver a message to humanity," and stuff like that. That's a very common theme that you hear. Yeah. David Icke even had a similar experience where he claimed to connect to a higher self or ascended master or whatever, and he was put on Earth to deliver a message. Jordan Maxwell, same kind of claims. So very consistent.
So what
theme.
we have here is another person claiming direct ties to Trump with some weird sort of new agey David Icke type of thing. New agey
stuff.
Which was very similar to the alleged claims by Lynn Wood about, being the second coming of Christ or trying to bring Christ consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. It's just interesting how these patterns keep coming up, especially with those who are filling the communication vacuum with Trump off social media now. And that's just another data point as we're trying to navigate this new world where Trump is not tweeting every 5 minutes.
You know what's crazy? We ISO this and we play it all the time on the show. But I think it's just weird how it's played out way more than I thought it ever would.
We will launch a new age.
I mean, he's not wrong about that. Like all this stuff is super new age now. Very bizarre. Yeah. But
anyway, so there you go. Just to wrap that point up for myself, as we go through this and more people claim to be either speaking on behalf of Trump or have knowledge of Trump's plans or ideas or things. Keep an eye on them, because so far, all of them have some of these kind of funky, new agey type leanings.
Right. And you mentioned Lynn Wood. That's our next target here, our next topic.
Yes.
And Newsweek just published yesterday, pro-Trump attorney Lynn Wood, not of, quote, sufficient character to practice law, decides judge.
Yeah. And, decides. They actually decided this.
Yeah, Delaware Superior Court judge slammed pro-Trump attorney Lynn Wood in a Monday decision revoking Wood's right to represent ex-Trump aide Carter Page in a defamation suit stemming from the Mueller investigations. Quote, the conduct of Mr. Wood, albeit not in my jurisdiction, exhibited a toxic stew of mendacity, prevarication, and surprising incompetence, Judge Craig Karsnitz wrote. Karsnitz said that he is required to, quote, ensure that those practicing before me are a sufficient character and conduct themselves with sufficient civility and truthfulness, particularly when out-of-state counsel is selected. Wood is based in Georgia. Noting Wood's involvement.
I don't think I like that. I mean, everybody here knows my thoughts about Lynn Wood, or at least my current, with my current knowledge base about Lynn Wood, everybody knows how I feel about him. But I don't think supporting Trump is a character failing that he should be disbarred for.
And here's where we talk about the narrow path. It's been brought up over and over again, but this is really an important time to be like, hey, we really got to stay on that narrow path, because if you go on one side, then you're like this Trump hater, just orange man bad everything.
Well, you just make on both sides. If you fall too far on one side or the other, you're going to make there's just logical inconsistencies that you're blind to because of emotional connections.
Right. Now,
like
Yeah. So in light of these, this whole thing here, Linwood had a Zoom call yesterday, the 12th, I believe. And I had someone send me the audio of the Zoom call, and a pretty reliable source. I will say that.
I will say that as well.
Yeah, supposedly.
I'm always very sketchy about reliable sources, but this was a reliable source.
Very reliable source. And I believe there was about 1,000 people on the call. So it wasn't something where it's like, a secret Zoom conversation with Linwood. It was more of a little more public than I think people realized. But in it, Linwood made some interesting claims, and I've clipped them out, and we will play them for you here. This first one, Blackout Space Force.
I've heard on good sources that there have been a number of blackouts in Iran. That tells me that the government is either testing or utilizing one of its capabilities under the Space Force program, Guardians, where it has the capability of knocking out power in selected locations. It's my belief that the president is prepared to deal with what might be considered a civil war because people will falsely claim that he's trying to take over the government. That's a lie. He's taking the necessary actions to protect our citizens and our freedom. I believe that the president is also preparing this country for war with China and Iran.
So nothing that we haven't heard before, war with China and Iran, but the Space Force part.
Well, yeah. So just to lay down a quick foundation, I did listen to the whole call. Most of it, none of it was new information. It was mostly all the same stuff we've been hearing for a week since January 6th.
Or longer.
But there was this part where he was talking about these blackouts, specifically in Pakistan and now Iran, which there's a whole other conversation. In these sort of developing countries, blackouts are not uncommon, but okay, let's just keep going. He's saying Space Force is causing these blackouts.
Yeah, the Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that all about? I didn't realize Space Force was on the offensive against other nations like that.
Yeah, well, and saying that Space Force did it.
What, EMPs?
Is he implying, some sort of like satellite-based EMP thing? Because there's a lot easier ways to cause a blackout in Iran than firing a satellite laser.
Yeah, like unplug. It's like have a guy unplug the
Stuxnet, you just do a computer virus, shut the whole thing down. You don't need a space operation.
Yeah. So that was the first interesting little clip there. I have 4 more, if you believe it or not.
Keep them going, baby.
So this one again, this is about the emergency broadcast system that, and notice, keep a keen ear on how many times Linwood actually says, "I believe." Okay, just keep that in mind.
The president has conclusive proof of that fraud, and I believe he will roll that out through the emergency broadcast system over the next day or two.
Next day or two. That's today, tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see. And so he believes that the president has all the sufficient information regarding the election fraud. He's going to be using the emergency broadcast system to tell everybody about it.
Still waiting on that.
Pretty bold claim there. This is the longest clip we have. It's about sunrise and sunset, about the voting. And again, I want people to pay attention, number one, to how many times he says, "I believe," but also how he invokes God as part of the timeline. Mm-hmm. And this is interesting. So let me play this for you.
In my investigation that I've been doing in connection with working with Sidney Powell, and in my efforts to bring truth to the American public, I knew about scorecard and hammer several months ago. And Mr.
Scorecard and hammer.
Now, if I knew about it, I suspect the President of the United States knows about it. But I have learned on reliable information and from a documented interview with a whistleblower that scorecard and hammer went much further. They were also developed into a program called Sunrise and Sunset. Sunrise included electronic monitoring of members of the military. Sunset involved illegal electronic monitoring of Title III judges. That would be your district court federal judges and your federal court of appeals judges. That might explain why all of these judges in the Trump cases have refused to look at or even mention the massive amount of evidence of fraud that has been put before them. They write opinions that appears to be scripted. They all seem to find a way to attack on standing or jurisdiction. I know the law, their rulings are nonsensical from a legal perspective, yet they're all consistent. Because what they have the ability to do is to blackmail these judges, to coerce these judges based on information they have obtained through the Sunset surveillance program. So the problem is even much larger than we imagine. And when the full evidence comes out, you're going to find that the perverted crime of pedophilia and child sex trafficking has a almost dominant role in the lives of certain high-ranking officials and business people in this country. I'm not making an accusation out of the blue. I have seen the evidence. I have documented it with a whistleblower. The country is in for the Great Awakening. We're going to awaken to the truth of who has been governing this country for decades. We have had corruption in the White House. We have had corruption in the Supreme Court. We have had corruption in our legislators in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. And we've had corruption among people who claim to be billionaires doing God's work. They're not doing God's work with their vaccines. They're doing the devil's work. And they are themselves going to be in a lot of trouble when the truth comes out. I would be looking for people that have been documented to hang around Jeffrey Epstein. I would be suspicious of anybody that hung around Jeffrey Epstein after he was, by his own admission, guilty of a crime involving a minor child related to pedophilia. So the truth is going to come out, but everybody needs to be patient. It doesn't come out on my time. It doesn't even come out on the president's time. It comes out on God's time. God controls the timing of all events because he plans all events. This is a time for people to study the Word of God and reading the Bible and to have great faith and to pray for President Trump, to pray for the members of our military, to pray for the country, to pray for the believers to be strong, to pray for the non-believers to have the planks removed from their eyes and their hearts softened. With respect to people whose hearts are stone, that will never come back to God, simply pray for their souls.
There you go. That's the whole tip. There's a lot in there.
Well, there's a lot in there. Yeah. The first weird one, just because some people were chatting about it, when he talks about sunrise and sunset, he's not talking about sunrise movement. Sunrise movement is a climate change activist thing, I believe. Right. But he made a connection between hammer and scorecard and what was it? Sunrise or sunset. One of those ones talking about how it's surveillance on judges and surveillance on...
sunset. Sunrise was the surveillance on military.
Okay, so sunrise, surveillance on military, sunset, surveillance on judges. And then, goes into some pretty classic, it's nothing really new as far as, the pedophilia stuff.
Right. Which again, this is the thing. You have like a mix of truth and lies here, right? Because some of the stuff he said, I don't doubt that there's lawyers and stuff that have seen some pretty crazy evidence.
He's saying there's corruption in the White House. No kidding.
No kidding.
There's corruption in Congress. No kidding. Real quick, but I want you to go on, but just because I don't want to go back to it. He's somehow made a weird connection or almost equating, although I don't think he was equating them, but he was connecting hammer and scorecard, which are voting tampering software. What?
I just saw a little skip in the connection to the live stream. I think we're okay.
Okay.
All right.
So hammer and scorecard, voting tampering software used by intelligence agencies to topple regimes and such overseas. And a lot of, part of the Kraken was that hammer and scorecard was used in the US. And then he is equating, or at least connecting that with sunrise and sunset, which are entirely different. I mean, those are surveillance programs, not voting tampering or election tampering software. So I didn't really get why he was making those connections there.
It's all one big scam. That's why. It's all bad guys doing bad things.
So that's not even the most important one. That was just another weird, that was kind of like signed the Insurrection Act. Like, well, you don't sign the Insurrection Act. And then, equating sunrise, sunset with hammer and scorecard was like, okay, I don't see the connection. It seems like you're just listing things to try to build a bigger picture that I'm not really seeing, but okay.
Yeah. And again,
he's Linwood and I'm not.
Right. And again, all the pedo stuff. Yes, I really think there's a lot of corruption in that regard. There's a lot of blackmail in that regard. And
that all came out with the flight logs.
The flight logs, WikiLeaks over the years. It's all there. Now, is something going to actually happen about it? We don't know. I mean, so far, not really. And we've also made the point to kind of combat the QAnon narrative that, okay, so what if they do? What if they arrest a whole bunch of people and all this? Number one, are we getting rid of those networks? Number two, what is going to be replacing everything to ensure it doesn't happen again? Are we going to allow crazy surveillance and be like, yes, we need it? Like Bibi Netanyahu was like, we need to microchip the children. He didn't really say that verbatim, but basically coming up with this idea that we need to microchip children to make sure that they're safe. I mean, what it's all kind of a cat and mouse game. So, the solution being, and what Linwood invokes here, the solution being that, it's all on God's timing. This is where I was like, okay, this is very interesting.
Laying on very heavy, connecting, hey, believe all what I say here. If you believe in God, you have to believe in me.
Right. It's a very sleight of hand way to appeal to right-wing conservative Christians out there that may be a little more naive, or at least really want to buy into that hopium. Because it's almost like he has crafted, or he has perfected the language to use to get the attention of a lot of Trump supporters that are believers. And so that's why you just got to have a little bit of discernment, and not believe everything he says, hook, line, and sinker. I think not everybody is, obviously, but some people are. And it's troubling. And, he brings up Epstein and all that. Again, it's all part of it. But then, he says it's not on my timeline. It's not on Trump's timeline, but it's on God's timeline. Well, it's like, no kidding.
No kidding. But also, there is a timeline.
Yeah.
We do now have 7 days for all this stuff you're talking about to happen. But yes, it is all on God's timeline. So, and that's a funny thing. And that makes me question, look, I am not in the business of questioning people's faith or whatever, but saying that I grew up in the church, for those who don't know, saying it's all on God's timeline is a way of saying, well, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I mean, that's what that means.
Right.
It's not on Trump's timeline. It's not on my timeline. It's on God's timeline, which is basically a way of saying, well, it'll happen or it won't. And either way, God's in control.
Remember.
So he's even kind of saying in cryptic Christian language there, like, yeah, none of this could happen.
Well, just keep in mind, he's a lawyer. People forget that he's a lawyer, and people think that he has everyone's best interest in mind, or the Constitution's best interest in mind, and stuff like that. And maybe he does, and maybe he's just got some, you mix religious or spiritual type of lingo in with the law type stuff, and he's a public figure, so he's getting a lot of attention. I don't know, man. It's just again, the narrow path.
Well,
right?
That's again, and like you mentioned, mixing all of these theories in with a faith in God has gotten him a lot of points over the past few months,
right?
With the American Christians, and he gets the points for using the language,
right?
And so it doesn't matter. It's kind of like it's got him what he wanted before, and so he's going to keep doing it.
And
again, I'm not questioning his faith. Sorry, just to be clear,
yeah.
That's not what I do. I don't like it when people do that. I'm not questioning anything. I'm just
We're just analyzing his words here. What he's saying, not everything behind it, not the character as the judge decided here. He's not of sufficient character. It's like, okay, well, I guess you are the ultimate judge of the character to decide that. But anyway, so let's move on to a couple more clips here. This is Linwood talking about his source. Okay, pay very close attention. He's talking about where he's getting all this information.
Come on, everybody. All my information is based on various pieces of information I've received from reliable sources. Again, I do not speak for the administration. I do not speak for the president. I'm giving you the best information that I believe is truthful.
So there you go. He's not speaking for the
believe,
president.
yes.
He's not speaking for the administration. He's speaking with all the best information that he believes he's gotten from multiple sources. I believe.
Yes. So there you go. He is a lawyer and he knows how to not get slapped with.
Exactly. That's what I thought
Yes.
too. I was like, wow, this is a lawyer, a well-trained lawyer that knows how to not get sued when nothing happens or when.
Which is a very stark change in what we've heard from him in the past. I mean, in the past, he's used language to insinuate that he is directly speaking from the mouth of Trump.
Yeah.
And now suddenly he's on this. No. This is all put together from different pieces of information from reliable sources. And I believe that this is what it looks like. I believe. So, yeah, this is quite a different tone struck.
Yeah.
Now, again, who knows? Maybe he's right. I'm sure he has information that I don't have, but just breaking down his communications here, my opinion has not changed on where I stand with Linwood.
Right. And the reason why you're all here.
But I believe the United States Supreme Court will eventually act, and it won't be long. They're going to rule that all of these states that had elections based on procedures not adopted and passed by the state legislatures are going to be unlawful elections, unconstitutional. They're going to require that those votes be counted based on the state law by the legislature in accordance with the federal law, which requires that the only votes that count are the votes made on election day. Those votes can be discerned. I believe the president's team, with the use of the Kraken supercomputer, has already determined that vote on election day. Wow. That's why I'm confident that President Trump won 49 states.
Did you hear that?
The Kraken supercomputer.
The Kraken supercomputer. I did not know the Kraken was I hadn't heard, and maybe people that are pretty deep in the rabbit hole have heard this already. But I was not aware of the Kraken supercomputer. I thought it was
not heard of the Kraken supercomputer.
I thought it was Sidney Powell's document that she's going to release.
A turn of phrase that Sidney Powell used. It wasn't really anything except for her sort of using a turn of phrase on her releasing all the info and the documents and stuff.
Yeah,
which we never really saw.
Well, we saw the documents, but it didn't really do much. It didn't do anything
live up to the hype.
Yeah, it didn't live up to the hype. But a Kraken supercomputer.
Wow, a tentacled quantum supercomputer.
Well, I mean, it makes me wonder. Every time he mentions God, maybe he's talking about the quantum Kraken supercomputer telling them all this information. I mean, if they do if we want to get super, speculative and whatever. It's possible.
That was very, but that's even, I mean, the term itself, Kraken supercomputer is new. Have not heard that one, but also has very interesting implications.
Yeah.
That Trump used a Kraken supercomputer to, what is the exact, he says is basically figure out all of the election fraud stuff?
Yeah, so I've heard this line of thinking from the Super Q folk over the years. So this isn't anything new in terms of the narrative. But the idea is, so Snowden, exposed the surveillance state. And when Trump took hold of everything, he used all that surveillance apparatus to spy on the bad guys, basically, people doing the bad things. And he got all the evidence and he documented all that evidence of people doing bad things and the pedo and all that. And maybe he did do some of that, almost like using the system against the evildoers. And he's going to use that and release that information to, I don't know, 4 more years. I don't know exactly what the purpose is other than to maybe raise awareness. But yeah, so I've heard that narrative. And so that kind of falls in line with that sort of thinking that a Kraken, call it the Kraken supercomputer, the spy apparatus is only as good as who's behind it. So if it's a good guy behind it, a white hat, then hey, use it for good. If it's a bad guy, then it's bad for all of us. So
yeah,
it's yep. This whole thing. This is deep.
This is deep.
Yeah, this is deep. Yeah, I don't know. So there you go. There's some additional data to make your mind up about Linwood. I'm not convinced. That was an interesting call, and I will say the clips that you pulled were probably the most interesting parts of that call.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours or something, right?
It was an hour and a half or so, and a lot of it was nothing new.
Well, a Kraken supercomputer, not the public, but the mainstream can easily take that and call it the Cracker supercomputer and be like, look at these racists and their own supercomputer.
Good call.
Yeah.
It was interesting. He just kind of brushed over that. He just kind of mentioned it. He never explained it, never mentioned anything else. Well, nobody asked about it on the call.
That's my thing. If you have 1,000 people on the call, why isn't anybody like, whoa, wait a minute. Can you talk more about the Kraken supercomputer, please?
Yeah,
Nobody?
Really he just kind of mentioned it and just moved on. So I don't know, whatever. Let's keep moving. So there you go. That was a good set of clips. I'm glad we got that.
Yeah. Let's see if my Twitter is working again. Well, let's see if my browser's working again. Not yet right now. I'm clicking on.
Well, that's interesting that it's stopping you from doing stuff because I can still look at your Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm having browser issues too. But okay, here we go. So this was a tweet by Josh Margolin. FBI now reports in a bulletin, quote, armed protests are being planned at all 50 state capitals from 16th January through at least 20 January, and at the U.S. Capitol from 17 January through 20 January, Aaron Katursky reports. And that's like the one, that's the confirmation, so to speak, that the Trump right-wing conservative, they're not done. They're still gonna come out and violent, and that's probably why Trump's got the hey, no violence, no, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the counter from the truther type folk, this is from the real Matt Couch. He says there are no conservative groups hosting armed rallies at any capital in any state or the U.S. Capitol from January 16th through the 20th. These are false flag events scheduled by the left. Do not attend them. This is a setup. Do not go.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what a wonderful voice of reason that is.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of like, so okay, maybe I don't know if this is the call out to the conservative group or the conservative side of the aisle, and then you have the other side, the FBI, saying like, oh, they're all getting ready. They're getting ready to storm all the capital of every state or whatever. When things go down, obviously the mainstream is going to blame the conservative right-wing Christian nationalists, all that.
Mm-hmm. The playbook. But I mean, at a certain point, isn't it the FBI? Don't they realize that like, hey, wait a minute, conservatives were well informed by their own people, like a lot of their conservative voices, that this is fake, that this is like a setup. And I think even Lisa Haven tweeted this out. Red alert, do not attend any events that is called for a march on the Capitol on January 17th. I repeat, do not attend this. I believe this may be organized by the left to set up patriots. Even the flyer has communist symbolism on it. Do not attend. So, and I didn't really dig into the communist symbolism on the thing, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a united front in terms of, hey, don't do this. That's good. They're seeing the trap.
I'm glad they're seeing the trap.
Showing up would be walking right into the trap.
I get it. But at what point is it, or the mainstream or the FBI or any of these folks going to be like, okay, well,
they're not.
I know they're not, but it's like, come on.
It's going to be, carry on the plan as usual. And yeah, the reporting will be, not very many people showed up at this demonstration, but it did get violent. So that's what it'll be. I'm more worried. I don't want people to attend because of some sort of false flag violence against the Trump supporters.
This is the other thing. We talked about in the last episode how this is like a social entrapment situation. They're trying to get people to rally and all this kind of stuff. And it's, this guy, what is it, Matt Couch?
Which
he calls it out.
Arguably the Q psyop was social entrapment as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. But if so they're scheduling a false flag event. Now, let's say there is some kind of violence somewhere in one of the states and something happens and they justify censoring, more lockdowns, all this kind of stuff. Is that, what are we supposed to do here?
Nothing. There's nothing you can do. I mean, that's the thing. That's the point. And that's why it's called a trap, is because no matter what, even if 0 actual Trump supporters show up to these things, there'll still be a small crowd, and they'll probably be all dressed in black, like the ones who actually, broke into the Capitol, et cetera, and they'll still have some sort of violence, but then they'll get the added benefit of, oh, no Trump supporters showed up, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's the mainstream, that's the playbook, and that's what it is. I mean, what are you going to do? Stop people from showing up? Then they'll just, I don't know. There's nothing to do, and I think that's okay. I mean, not that it's great that it's happening. It's just, I guess, not playing into their hands is the best thing you could do.
I mean, I'm imagining, and this is maybe my own hopium, is that people see that there was an effort to not, to tell conservatives, or, the conservative leadership telling their own not to attend because it's likely a setup. And then the FBI saying, oh, everyone's setting up for violence. And the military even coming out and saying, hey, we have we need to defend the Capitol and property and all this kind of stuff. So when something does happen, the people, just the general public out there, your normie people, my hopium is that they realize, wait a minute, everything is a set. Like, this is all a show. Like, this is all meant to censor people and to continue.
And I think people will wake up to that.
You think so?
And I think more and more people are. Yeah, no, I think we've been seeing a slow wake up call, even with people on the left. As we've been seeing in the subject of coronavirus, you're getting mainstream lefties coming out and, starting to wake up that things aren't as they've been told.
Right.
And I think that's similar to what we'll be seeing here, mainly because, if somehow no actual Trump supporters show up to these false flag events and it's all lefty people, what's going to happen? They'll be televised. And yeah, maybe the mainstream media won't tell the story of these lefties, of the trap, but you'll have the whole left watching the news and CNN or wherever they're getting their news, and they'll be seeing their buddies. Oh my gosh, that's Quentin. What's he doing at the Trump rally? Wait a second. And it'll happen slowly, and it'll be very small numbers, but it's all step by step for people waking up. That's just kind of how it happens. And again, it's all in God's hands. And I think inevitably, when people get too bold with creating, these false images on the mainstream, people will wake up. I think it's just a matter of time before it hits some sort of critical mass.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And the uncomfortability that you're feeling is that it's out of our hands.
Well,
it's out of anybody's hands.
Well, I know that part of it I understand.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There is a certain point where, because I've always been like, all right, people generally believe the mainstream media, a lot of your normie folk out there, and it's kind of hard to break the mind control and the propaganda and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like there's a certain point where it's like, okay, come on. Like, how much more evidence do you need that this isn't something that's just instigated by a generalized right-wing conservative, violent call, all this kind of stuff? I don't know. At a certain point, there's so much evidence that it's just a small group. I don't know. I guess logic is not a thing for the public. So
I mean, I think we're agreeing. We're making the same
point.
Are
agreeing, but
it's just going to happen slow, and it's not going to be a sort of victorious moment where the truth is broadcast on television. But it's the slow movement of social change, and yeah, the pendulum is swung pretty hard off in one direction right now. But as we've been seeing, people are waking up to the fact that things are not what they seem. Yeah. And it's just sort of like a low-level shift that happens. Yeah. I'm confident that it'll happen. It's just a matter of the timeline.
Yeah, and then we'll see what happens with our government and everything else as that happens, because it's all kind of parallel with technology advancing and AI and robots and all that coming into play too. So
Flippy will be there.
Flippy will be there. Flippy will be there at the forefront of the revolution.
Little Flippy. If you see Flippy with a little Trump hat on in front of a Capitol building swinging a baton, you'll know it's the false flag.
Yeah. Just moving on here, and then we'll have a couple more stories, and then we got a break here. But my browser. There was a kind of a mock video by the Lincoln Project. Mike Pence for president. I'm not going to play it, but the reaction to this was hilarious because the left. This is like the most unified I've seen the Republicans and Democrats in a long time. And it's not for the same reason, but it's to condemn the same guy, which is Pence. And, it's kind of a mock Pence for president 2024 video. And in response to it on social media, you saw, it was funny because the Democrats were all over there saying, Pence is worthless because he didn't do anything and he's not helping us with the 25th Amendment and he's just, he's dead weight. And then you had all these Republicans saying like, oh, Pence didn't do anything with helping Trump, the Senate and, getting election fraud brought to court and all this. He's worthless. He's not doing anything. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. This is nice that everybody is agreeing that Pence didn't do anything. And that they're like kind of in agreement to the hate Pence. So anyway,
yeah. Well, Pence has certainly had a pretty bad time of it the past week.
Yeah. But along with all this stuff with the election and the government and all this, there's been some other interesting news out there.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Alien. It's unidentified.
This was very fun. This came out, we're going to be reading from the New York Post here, and the headline is CIA releases UFO Black Vault documents early. How to see them online. Federal intelligence on extraterrestrial technology at your fingertips. By way of the Freedom of Information Act, thousands of the CIA documents on unidentified flying objects or unidentified aerial phenomena, as the government calls them, are now accessible via download at The Black Vault, a website operated by author and podcaster John Greenwald Jr. The CIA claims they have now provided all the information on UAP they have, though there is no way to know that's true. Quote, research by the Black Vault will continue to see if there are additional documents still uncovered within the CIA's holdings, Greenwald promises in a statement on his website. The release comes months before the Pentagon was due to brief Congress on all they know about UAP, a date dictated in the most recent COVID-19 relief bill, of all places, which passed in late December. The demands for alien intel became so many that the CIA eventually compiled it onto a CD-ROM. Classic. Obtained by Greenwald and uploaded to the Black Vault, divvied into dozens of downloadable PDFs. Greenwald told Vice's Motherboard that he believes the documents are made difficult to parse for calculated reasons. Quote, the CIA has made it incredibly difficult to use their records in a reasonable manner, he said of the outdated file format. In my opinion, this outdated format makes it very difficult for people to see the documents and use them for any research purpose. Greenwald had levied multiple FOIA requests during the past 2 decades in pursuit of non-confidential findings on UAP collected by the government since 1996. He said in January 7th blog post, in a 2020 interview, he told the Columbia Journalism Review that he began to inquire with the CIA as a teenager. Quote, you can take something that took more than a decade to come to my mailbox and give it to the public for free in an instant. That's why I do it. He said at the time, quote, I'm fairly hooked on the whole FOIA thing. Among the cache's most intriguing clues is a heavily redacted document that shows a former CIA assistant deputy director for science and technology, quote, exhibited interest in one particular unnamed object. Quote, he decided he would personally look into it, and after he gave advice on moving forward. That advice is classified, Greenwald tweeted from the Black Vault Twitter account. The dump comes at a moment in history when Americans are particularly interested in alien intelligence, indicated by a recent uptick in UFO sightings and viral popularity of the media relating to extraterrestrial life. Last year, the Defense Department officially declassified shocking video, and then they mentioned the video that came out last year, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. Allegedly, Greenwald and the Black Vault have all of the CIA's information on aliens. Now, when you do look at it, it is, for the most part, heavily redacted and very difficult to parse through. But I don't know. What do you think, Guns? Is it all of it? Do we have all of it?
Well, obviously not all of it, but the picture of the CD-ROM is pretty funny because, you know, I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, you know, I was in college and stuff. And burning CDs and making your own CD sticker was a thing, you know, back then.
Yeah.
And you can print your own CD art, basically. And the art on this thing looks like one of those things that you print and you stick on there on the CD. Like it's not lasered on there. It's just a sticker that says, you know, unclassified, approved for release, UFOs collection. And it's got like the CIA logo and CIO. It looks like something I would make in the early 2000s. Yeah, maybe 90s, more so 2000s. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. But you know, who knows? People start digging in there and maybe they'll find something. But I mean, at this point.
Well, it's interesting. As we mentioned with the declassification that randomly came through with the COVID bill, where they have to declassify everything to Congress. They are not, it's not stated that they need to declassify it to the public. Yeah. And I think this is a little bit of a distraction, Gons, because they didn't need to do this. This was a FOIA request from Greenwald that they finally followed up on. But I feel like they put this little package together so they didn't have people snooping around with what they declassified to Congress.
Yeah, almost like like throwing out bait to misdirect.
Yes. Yeah, it's a decoy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't been able to look through it very much, but you know, it's more or less useless. You're not getting an admission of anything. It's highly redacted and a pain in the butt to go through. But I don't know. We'll see. As people have more time to go through it, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. I mean, that was kind of a confirmed thing that the first time I heard it, interestingly enough, was probably 5 years ago when Hillary Clinton was on, it was either, I can't remember, it was one of the late night talk shows, and she had brought up the UAP being the new way to talk about UFOs. We've known that the government has been documenting these things, and also the bottom line is, what is it? You know, the big question, what is all this stuff that's being documented, if not just some kind of mistake? And I'm pretty convinced it's either government craft that exists, paid for by our tax dollars, by the way. And Catherine Austin Fitz did some exposés on that a few years ago, talking about how we have billions and trillions of dollars worth of technology that's not released to the public. And or the more supernatural stuff, It's probably some kind of demonic interdimensional type of situation. But they're not going to release anything. And at this point, they're not going to confirm anything concrete because we've had the slow disclosure happening for the last 4 or 5 years anyway. We've like last year, that video that was confirmed by the government and all this, I mean, that footage was out there already. And so it's almost like the goalposts have moved. It's not so much because if you think about 20 years ago, the government didn't say anything about UFOs. Nothing. Mm-hmm. They were like, oh, nope, not going to talk about it. But now it's like, okay, they're releasing documents that we know that people were tracking it, like more publicly. People that were into UFOs knew about this, but now it's more public. So now the only thing that would surprise me is if they start declassifying information about contact and like direct contact and stuff like that. The claims like the guy earlier made with the 9 foot tall alien mom. Saying like this,
yeah.
And I think it was, oh gosh, I can't remember. Somebody in the chat might know who was the president that allegedly made a deal with the aliens that they can do some testing on humans in exchange for some technology.
I don't know.
And stuff.
I want to say Nixon, but I don't think that was
No, it wasn't Nixon. I think it was either Reagan or someone before that. But anyway, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff will be a little more interesting in terms of like what actually went down.
Well, technically, that's kind of the interesting thing because if there were
Eisenhower,
if there was info on the president making deal with aliens, a FOIA request for UFOs or UAPs would not include that.
No,
because that would be
it's almost like we're looking in the wrong place.
Again, it's all language. So if they classify those documents under something that's not UFOs or UAPs, because remember, UFOs or UAPs are specifically referring to unidentified things in the sky.
Right.
Where if there was a gray walking into the White House, well, that's not unidentified and it's not in the sky. So you don't get the documents. Got you again.
Yeah. They should definitely start throwing some FOIA requests for secret meetings. Declassify all the secret meetings.
Yeah. No, that would be a crazy idea. That would be reserved for a country that had a government for the people, by the people, not the United States of America.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing in the chat, this caught my eye, and I think it's time we keep on going with the show, but it caught my eye in the chat gons. Just in, hackers have leaked Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine data on the internet.
Oh,
I don't know. We'll see. Look. If somebody finds something credible, send it to us at canarycryradio@gmail.com. Okay. What do you think?
Let's
keep moving.
Let's take a quick break, and then we have what do we have after the break?
After the break, we've got some headline updates we're going to go through regarding. Let's see, COVID prophecy. We've got Uganda censor social media. We've got some drone stuff. More importantly, for bigger stories, we've got the AI office.
Oh, the new logo from the government AI office there. Yeah, we got to stay tuned for that because we got
some CRISPR stuff. Yeah, and then a couple Wackchin updates. I'm thinking we're going to actually just need to skip the updates and go straight to the stories, Gons.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at the time. We need to keep moving.
Okay.
So, that being said, let's take a quick break.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Wrong jingle.
Oh, no. That's right, folks. Let's take a real quick break, but don't go anywhere because, like I said, after the break, we've got the new office, the AI office from our government here, our beloved government. Also, some CRISPR news and some important Wackchin updates. But before that, we want to thank some of the producers of the show. This is very important, and all of us should be very thankful to these producers because, as you may have noticed, we do not take any corporate money, not from YouTube, not from advertisers, not from mattress companies or underwear companies or supplement companies. Nothing, folks. We are completely 100% funded by listeners of the show. They are producers, and that means we are only accountable to producers. And one thing that I thought of yesterday, Gons, was, there's a lot of shows and outlets and blogs and things they'll take your donations, but you don't really know who's donating, and you don't know how many they are and things like that. One special thing about our value for value model is people who help fund the show, we name them on the show. And so you know exactly how many people are making the show happen. And if they're returning or whatever, we can thank the same people over and over. It's a really great system. And it's a transparent system. And it's a system that is disconnected from the advertising theology, the global theology of the world that really wants us all to think that, we can just get anything for free as long as corporations pay for it. And, we just like to accept whatever message corporations want to pay for. That's the message we'll receive, and we will like it. But no, not the producers of this show. We are on the value for value model. The following producers have taken control. They have rebelled against the system. They have taken responsibility for their own media future. No longer are they just going to be spoon-fed whatever corporations want to pay for. And it's the only way, really, to make this show work, because, as you know, we don't get any money from YouTube. We don't get any money from anybody except our producers. And that means we are not we're not beholden. We don't have to worry about saying something the wrong way or talking about even your nightly news. You can see it all the time. They are punished by advertisers who don't like what they're saying. Oh, one funny example of this was, I forget who it was. Shoot, I think it was Chris Cuomo, but don't quote me on that. He was talking about the siege of the Capitol and how, these Trump supporters, they're terrorists, and they're just gonna go home and they're gonna go to Olive Garden and talk about how great their protest was, right? And the second I heard that, I'm like, you don't want to do that, Mr. Reporter man, because you start messing with advertisers, you're going to get in trouble. And lo and behold, the next time he comes on air, he has to come with an apology for connecting Olive Garden to terrorists.
Wasn't he like, just mention Olive Garden as a kind of a restaurant that's in the area?
I was thinking of a different restaurant that had the word olive. I didn't mean to say Olive Garden. Oh, please, Olive Garden, don't take away your advertising dollars.
Everybody loves waffles.
It's really entertaining to watch. But enough about that. Let's get to our producers. These are people who have taken responsibility. And like I said last show, it's really a spiritual movement as well. The Bible talks a lot about where you put your treasure, and the spiritual impacts of that. And, people are, it's like I said, we take it very seriously when people produce the show. We don't just take money willy-nilly. We understand that it really is a spiritual act to willfully give your money to support something that the Lord is doing. And we're very thankful for that. And I will start by thanking those producers over on patreon.com/CCNT. This is an option for those who want to use Patreon. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And for this episode, we had two. We have one new producer named Producer James D. Thank you very much, James D, for your producership. And then we have an upgrading producer, Producer Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Producer
Jennifer. As always, it's hard enough to get new producers, but it's even harder to, get producers to upgrade their support. So thank you to our Patreon's producers, Producer James D and Producer Jennifer.
Yeah.
Now, next, Patreon is not the only option. Don't worry, folks. A lot of people don't like Patreon. We understand. That's why you can head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
Canary Cry Radio.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. It's got a lot of options there. It's got literature on the value for value model, which a lot of people want to know more about that. That's a great way to do it. But there's also options for monthly producership, or if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a producership in any amount for a one-time event. Now, Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
First, we have producer Stephen V coming in at $33.33.
Thank you, producer Stephen V. And with your Illuminati donation.
He said, keep up the great work. Thumbs up. God bless. Well, thank you, producer Stephen V.
Thank you.
Next, we have producer Jimmy Myers Paint Contracting Services.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Myers Paint Contracting Services, coming in, and you are the executive producer for this episode of Canary Cry News Talk, episode 286.
Yes, thank you very much. Very generous. Producer Sean C. coming in. Thank you, producer Sean C.
Thank you very much.
And we also have producer Brian H.
Thank you very much, Brian H.
Notice how you said we publicize the people who support us, but we're not doxing them. We're trying to keep it pseudo anonymous or pseudo, we're just not telling all the names, but anyway.
Yeah.
Next up, we have producer Zero Sum Records.
Thank you very much, producer Zero Sum Records.
Next, producer Anthony L. Thank you, producer Anthony.
Thank you very much. And he's also coming in with the 3333.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
does that mean Anthony L is our handler?
Anthony L is my handler. Stephen V is your handler. They both came in at $33.33.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're doxing our handlers.
That's how we do it. Next up, producer Gianna B. Thank you, producer Gianna.
Thank you very much, Gianna B.
And she said, much appreciation for all you do. Thanks for not only providing insightful commentary, but also a way out. Jesus. God bless you both.
Amen.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
And we also got support from producer Craig W.
Yes. Thank you very much. Producer Craig W. came in as a monthly supporter.
Oh, okay. And of course, producer Saul. Thank you, producer Saul.
Thank you, producer Saul. Monthly producer, rather.
Oh, okay. And that's all of the people that supported us with your treasure, but you can do so with your time and your talent. We accept jingles, and we also accept art.
One art, please.
And today we only have one piece of art to share, I believe, or maybe we have two. Technically one. Okay, so this is Allie, producer Allie Gazel and Bonds in the chat, and it's a drawing of Trump, and the caption is, "No one can hold up the pretty red folder like me," in reference to the video.
It's true. He is very proud.
Yeah.
He's very proud, and he held up that folder very good, too.
Yes, he was definitely holding it up goodly. So thank you for that, producer Allie. Keep up the great work there.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Allie.
Jade Bouncerson is our timestamps person.
Thank you very much. Was that all the art? You just said there was two arts. You just said one.
Yeah, it's just one. It's just one.
Okay. Yeah. Did we? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we also wanted to mention the merch perch.
Yahoo. And thank you to everybody who's been sending in your pictures of the Canary Cry calendar. I believe you should still be able to get these over at the Canary Cry Merch Perch. For those who don't know, Canary Cry Merch Perch is producer run. Gons and I do not run it. And it was a project by producer Dust. So thank you very much, producer Dust, for taking that on and making it happen, because we certainly have been very bad at doing the merch thing over the many years we've been doing this. So producer Dust saved us, and there is the Canary Cry calendar for 2021 available over there. And folks, you're gonna want to get it, because the pictures have been rolling in. You can find them on social media, and it is a calendar for 2021, which I think we're technically I think we're all clear to all be getting calendars for 2021. I think that's an okay thing to do. And it's filled with dates of note. If you're a Canary Cry listener or a fringe type person, lots of very interesting and important dates of note that may, I will say they're probably passing you by. Historical dates, whether it be, related to certain conspiracy theories or just days to celebrate, UFO, forget what the UFO one is called, but it's a very good time. And we've been getting lots of messages. People are very happy with the Canary Cry calendar, and it's completely created by producers of Canary Cry News Talk. All the art is done by the artists and producers, and the whole project was put together by people who care. So it's very cool. Very thankful to all of the producers who put that together. Head over to canarycrymerchmerch.com. All the merch is sold at cost to keep costs down for our dear listeners. And but you do get an opportunity to tip the webmaster, tip the artist, or tip Gonz and I. And please consider, I will say, at least definitely tipping the artist and tipping the webmaster, because they all put a lot of work into making that happen. So thank you very much.
Yes, and I just want to mention that if you and I, Basil, wanted to put together a Canary Cry calendar for 2021, we would not be able to release it because of how we work till 2022. By the time we release it,
it's
the year would be over.
Time-sensitive product, and we are not good at that. So, lastly, I want to announce a Canary Cry meetup going on. Oh gosh. Do you have the
flyers?
You have the flyer
showing
for it?
Yeah, ready to connect outside the cage.
Great. Yes. Producer Ciara, who is has taken on the project of on her own. They've been putting on Zoom meetups for Canary Criers, for the dear Canarians. You can learn more with the flyer on your screen here. It says join our hangout every third Saturday of the month. So that'll be coming up here soon. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every third Saturday of the month, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then it's got the meeting ID and stuff here, which you can copy down, and we should probably post this on our social or something.
Well, we'll post it on social, but we'll also post it on canarycrynewstalk.com. So go there, and you'll see it at the bottom in the artwork section. We'll have the flyer there for everybody to see.
Yeah, and it's been very fun. I tuned into one, I think, last month, and it was a great time. I got to hang out with all the Canarians, and we just talked about, really everything from coffee to funny life stories to weird stuff in the fringe space that was going on. It was a great time, and Gonz and I, we are trying our best to make it to as many of those as we can. It's very fun, so no guarantees, but I am going to be trying to make it to this one as well. So there you go. And if you want to know more, head over to canarycry.community. With all the funky stuff going on with social media nowadays, we're very happy that we've had the I don't know what you'd call it. Well, the generosity of producers, of specifically producer Smiley, to run the thing. But canarycry.community is our off Facebook social media for Canarians. So it's a little bit different than Facebook, so don't go there expecting to have the Facebook experience. But with everything crazy going on, head over to canarycry.community and connect with other Canarians just like you. Like you can see here, there's the prayer wall, there's coronavirus facts before fiction, propaganda free zone, there's the Canary Cry Gamers Guild, there's a Babylon Bee appreciation thread, all sorts of fun stuff. There's you can go there to have very intense conversations about fringy stuff, or you can go there just to fellowship with people just like you. So there you go, canarycry.community. It's a real URL. That's a great tagline. Okay, what else? Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, we did it. Let's wake on up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Artificial intelligence.
Woo! You want me to start with this one here? This is over at venturebeat.com. And this is very interesting considering what we've been tracking for many years here. What this bald eagle and neural network depiction have to do with future U.S. AI strategy. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy today announced the launch of the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office, an organization that will coordinate and oversee national AI policy initiatives for the United States government. Quote, the office is charged with overseeing and implementing the United States national AI strategy. Oh no, I don't like the sound of that. And will serve as the central hub for federal coordination and collaboration in AI research and policy making across the government, as well as with the private sector, academia, and other stakeholders. There's that word stakeholders again, Gons. According to a White House statement. The news comes with roughly 1 week left in President Trump's tenure and less than a week after he incited a violent insurrection at the U.S. Capitol in which 5 people were killed. That's actually a lie. 5 people were not killed. 5 people died and 2 were killed. If the president doesn't resign and the vice president and cabinet do not invoke the 25th Amendment, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Congress will vote on article of impeachment tomorrow. Notice anything weird about this article about the AI office? Well, they just have a paragraph inserted in the middle to, frankly, lie about just to put some politics in there.
Yeah.
Unrelated to artificial intelligence.
Or maybe 100% related, Basil.
Ooh, touche. Almost as interesting as the tasks the National AI Initiative Office will take on is the group's seal, which appears to be the U.S. government's first depiction of artificial intelligence in the logo of a federal office or agency. Okay, they make that sound really intense, but of course this would be the first depiction of it. Wow, and it is very interesting. It's got sort of a network imagery, some nodes all being connected by little lines, but then notice how there's these tethers that are that the eagle is grasping onto. So the eagle is. So
that's the question: is the eagle holding on to it, or is he trapped within? Is the United States?
Gosh.
Locked into the grid of the network.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's almost like he's in a cage of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh man, think outside the cage, little eagle. Instead of grasping an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other to symbolize war and peace, as the eagle on the seal of the President of the United States does, the National AI Initiative Office shows a bald eagle grasping interconnected nodes meant to symbolize a neural network. The eagle, quote, the eagle emerges from the neural network to represent the power and potential of AI to translate data into knowledge, technological breakthroughs, and new capabilities. The White House statement reads, 7 stars at the bottom of the seal are meant to signify that the office was established in the 7th decade of artificial intelligence. One node of that neural network includes a depiction of the American flag to show a commitment to leadership in AI from the United States, as well as the importance of an all-of-nation approach to the research, development, and deployment of AI. Interesting. All-of-nation approach. The National AI Initiative Office came into existence with the passage of the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, the annual defense spending bill for the U.S. military. Though the White House championed the launch of the new AI office today, President Trump vetoed the bill that created the office last month because lawmakers did not do as he asked and strip big tech companies of Section 230 legal liability protection. Orange man bad! Both houses of Congress voted to override the president's veto last week. The NDAA included funding for a number of AI-related initiatives pertaining to the national security, including a select committee on AI, I don't think I need to go through the rest of this. Did you have anything else highlighted of importance here, Gons?
Not really. I mean, the logo itself is really the big story here.
Yeah, it is. That's the big story. The rest is sort of government jibber jabber. But yeah, no, that's very interesting symbolism, Gons.
And it also looks kind of like a rib cage where the eagle is behind.
Yeah. Oh,
it's like
yeah.
Holding on to the rib cage. And
for those who have their trained eye for the pentagram or Baphomet symbols, you can also see that in there as well.
Yeah, and the 7 points is kind of interesting too, because you have it's actually an 8-pointed star, but the bottom node is missing. So that's something to consider. That's kind of strange. But there's all the 7 heads, 10 horns type of thing in the Bible.
Yeah.
Not saying that this is what that is, but yeah. And speaking of logo, we can kind of speculate and break down the logo here, and there's probably more to it, including the 7 stars underneath on the outer rim where it says National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office, and it's got the 7 stars. I'm just wondering what the 7 is supposed to represent. Like what are they?
You mean besides the 7th decade of the age of artificial intelligence?
I don't know. I don't think that's really
besides the official story.
Yeah.
Why don't you believe the official story, Gons?
Oh, because
what are you, a conspiracy theorist?
Yeah, I'm not good to them.
The AI is kind of gonna get you.
Just since we're talking about government logos, I did want to bring this up. There wasn't a story associated with it, but the CIA has a new logo as well. Have you seen the new logo?
I have. It's very bad. I don't understand why they did this.
Not very good. But the one thing that people are pointing out, the phrase United States of America is no longer on the new CIA logo. So,
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
Because
sometimes I think they're just purposefully messing with us.
Yeah, it's the Chinese intelligence agency now or something.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird for a couple of reasons. One is it breaks entirely from any theme of any logo put out by the United States government. It doesn't have color, no red, white, and blue, no eagle, no nothing, no stars. It's just this weird wireframe background with CIA, and with the text that would circle it, where usually it says United States Central Intelligence Agency or the United States of America or whatever. It just says Central Intelligence Agency. You know what it looks like? It looks like a corporate logo.
Yeah, a bad one.
It does not look like a government logo. It looks like a corporation or a private sector intelligence company. And that would not surprise me, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah, well, I think you hit it on the head there. So, yeah, all these new logos for the new age, I guess.
Yeah, well, great. We needed to refresh the look. I like the old logo of the CIA. It harkens to a certain time in American government logo design. Yeah. I don't like it.
Or at least they put the eagle in the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office.
Yeah, I'm very proud of them. Good job, National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office.
So what is it? The NAO?
Yes, NAO.
NIO. All right. One last story here.
Yeah.
CRISPR. Cas9.
Did you have something you were going to say about something, or?
No, somebody said something about iPet Goat, and we won't get into it in this show, but the iPet Goat 3, Guns and I spent some time going through it, and don't get too excited, folks. We'll talk about it in the next couple shows.
Okay. This is newscientist.com. CRISPR gene editing used to store data in DNA inside living cells. And it's a pretty short article, so I'll get through it here. DNA inside living bacterial cells has been edited with CRISPR technology to encode and store information. This is actually not new here. This could be a step towards developing a new medium for long-term data storage. we've covered it before, but I think they're just making progress. Life's genetic information is stored in DNA, but there's a growing interest in using DNA as a storage medium for other kinds of data. To do this, information is often encoded using the 4 DNA bases. Adenine was just the ACTG, if you took your biology class. The corresponding DNA sequence can then be chemically synthesized in a laboratory and even stored with everyday objects. Harris Wang, a Columbia University in New York, and his team took this one step further using a form of CRISPR gene editing to insert specific DNA sequences that encode binary data, the ones and zeros that computers use to store data, into bacterial cells. By assigning different arrangements of these DNA sequences to different letters of the English alphabet, the researchers were able to encode the 12-byte text message, "Hello World," into DNA inside E. coli cells. This was
classic.
Yeah. Any code, if you've done any code, the first thing you learn is how to put "Hello World" on a website or whatever. You got something?
No. Not on this. No, I'm looking at, you said this is our last story, but we definitely have to watch the Biden video.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. Well, I mean, I'm not going to read the rest of it then. It's pretty straightforward here. Just the implications are very interesting that, in our lifetimes, unless the Lord returns, we can see presidents get injected with the nuclear codes in their DNA and things like that.
In the DNA. Yeah. Very interesting.
And just sensitive information in general being carried by people is just, or just living things in general is a whole different world of sci-fi that, is coming to life here. So just something to keep in mind, something to keep track of. And it looks like they're making progress to bring us the beast system. And, one day could be the information that verifies you as someone who pledges allegiance to the beast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You wanted to watch
I'm so excited. We have to watch it. You've seen it, I'm assuming.
I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is on abcnews.go.com, and it says Biden gets second dose of vaccine as team readies for COVID-19 plan. And there's no story here except for you gotta watch the video. And special. Yes, and there's a lot of buildup in the video, so you can actually scoot forward to about 45 seconds.
Okay, so Biden's sitting down here.
Yeah, scoot up to 45 seconds. This is a very long buildup. And tell me if you notice anything weird with this video.
Okay, he's getting his shoulders wiped down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. The jab. Pulls it out.
Okay, do it again. Let me see. Tell me if you notice something again.
Hold on. Okay, so is that part of the video?
Yeah, yes, it is.
What?
It's part of the video. I have watched this video on dozens of different outlets because the first time somebody shared this with me. Now, for the listeners who are not looking at the video, you got to look at this video because the doctor, he takes the syringe and he rears back and he's gonna get him, and then it glitches, and suddenly it glitches to the needles in his arm. You don't actually see it go into his arm. And I was like, okay, whoop, my internet glitched. Let me do that again. And he's get ready, and then it glitches, and then the needle is in his arm. And I can't imagine that there's an outlet of this video that I have not watched. Because I assumed, somebody's messing with us. Of course, somebody's wanting to, cast doubt on the fact that this happened or whatever. And it is just the most unfortunate technical glitch in the favor of conspiracy theorists that has ever existed. And it's in every version. It's right before. You never actually see the needle go into his arm because there was some hardware or network glitch. And it must have been in the master of the video. Because you would think if they didn't want to cast doubt on this, they would just replace the video with a clean version. I cannot find a clean version. And we are on ABC News. This is not some conspiracy blog. ABC News official video. They cannot put up a version of this without a very suspicious glitch that makes it so you don't actually see the moment where the needle goes into his arm.
And if you watch it slow-mo, it's like the glitch actually has it so it skips some frames.
It's missing frames.
Yeah, it's missing frames where...
I did it in slow-mo too. It's missing frames. The moment where the needle goes into his arm does not exist.
Yeah, that is really bizarre.
Crazy, huh? That's crazy. And, there's stuff like this. I mean, there's all sorts of weird videos regarding this, but this was the official video, the official mainstream video. And it's missing frames of the incoming president getting the most controversial medical whatever you want to call it. And they can't get a clean video of it. It's like they are purposefully egging on the conspiracy theorists.
Oh my gosh, that is really wild.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, because I was kind of trying to maybe pay attention to Biden's response, which is let me watch it again. Let me watch his eyes. Yep, goes totally cold, blooded eyes with his hairy legs.
He's really showing how tough he is. But it's crazy. This is like, there will be conspiracy theorists in decades going over this video over and over and over and over. After the zombie apocalypse happens because of some reaction to the virus or whatever, they'll be going over this video like, the incoming president, there's missing frames. Where are the frames? He did, this is just wild that it was so blatant and no attempt to fix it.
Yeah, that's what the other part that's weird is. I mean, they must have, again, this video, you don't usually get errors like that on a local. No. That's usually a live stream issue or something. It's not usually.
And the rest of the video is perfect. Not a single problem with any of the rest of the video. But the moment where you would actually watch him get the vaccine, it glitches, it blurs, and it's missing frames. It's wild.
Well,
so check it out.
I wanted to show this as part of just the last part of the show here, since we talked vaccines. This was tweeted out. Funny, I thought they put the swab up your nose, and there's a picture. It says COVID-19 testing, and there's an arrow, and it says in the rear.
Oh, great. That's pretty funny.
And if those of you who have been with us for a long time, let's say 2014-ish, when we did our Canary Cry Radio live at the Prophecy Forum conference, you had brought up the question, if the mark of the beast goes in the rear, is it still the mark of the beast?
That's true.
And yes,
stick with the biblical account.
That is Basil. For those of you watching,
are you showing it on the stream?
Yes, and so part of the story that was hilarious about this was Basil was playing host at this conference, and his outfit really, really upset one of our speakers, and to the point where he was kicked off the speaker stage.
Yeah, I got fired.
You got fired. So
after the first day, because they didn't like my getup.
Yeah, and so this is anybody wondering? Here's Basil in all his glory, showing his face for most.
That was a great time.
So people wondering what he looks like. This is a little bit more
for those listening to the podcast. If you haven't seen it, man. Do you have this file? You should send me this file.
It's on the Canary Cry Radio Facebook page, so anybody that's in there has seen it.
Yeah, I want to put it on my Facebook page. But if you're just listening, I'm in a white suit, a white three-piece suit with a Hawaiian shirt underneath. I've got my my original fake beard, and I've got just a gigantic, majestic mullet with an American flag bandana and some aviator glasses. And yeah, I did not last long in that job.
Yeah, I remember the conversation, and I was like, what is he upset about? Ooh.
Yes. Everybody was taking it very seriously, which, that was fine. I was happy to step aside.
Okay.
The fun part was I stayed at the conference.
I know you were there. It's just you weren't allowed to host it anymore, which people were really upset. Just no more Basil.
Some people, although I had a lot of people tell me that they really loved it, but some of the people who were in the position to make the decision did not like it.
Yeah.
I was making light of a very serious situation, which is, I get that a lot. Okay, fun. Well, are we all done?
I think
we're
done.
Show?
Yep.
Okay,
that's a show.
Great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Now here's the thing. We'll be back on Friday, the 15th. That's January 15th, 2021. So make sure to be there. We'll be on sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So again, make sure before we leave here, like the video, hit the, what is it? Like, subscribe, bell.
Subscribe. Wait, what was it?
Bell button.
Bell button, and then all, because you got to hit all for the thing.
Make sure you do that, or else you'll stop getting notifications. And if you haven't done it yet, I will say I do highly suggest you also subscribe to the Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel, because we stream there as well.
Yeah, and
also head over to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Follow us there. It's very important that you never know at any moment any one of our channels can get taken down. So we want to make sure that you follow us other places as well, so you don't miss a show if you don't want to. So there you go. And be back Friday the 15th for another show sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you to all of our producers, producer Jennifer, James, Steven, Jimmy, Sean, Brian, Zero Sum, Anthony, Gianni, Craig, and Saul for being financial producers of this episode of Canary Cry News Talk, episode 286. And for those of you who have not become producers, pray about it and really consider if, taking responsibility. We already know the crumbling infrastructure of not just mainstream media, but also, the structure of online media is starting to crumble as well. Advertising is a big reason for that. The main reason for censorship is because advertisers don't want to be affiliated with certain types of media. And so there will come a day where you will not get the media you want if you don't support it, or if other people don't support it. So consider it for next episode of Canary Cry News Talk, becoming a producer, because we're heading into a time where this might be our only option. So head to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. And you can also support us in different ways. Become a producer by making art or jingles or music, whatever your creative outlet is. Create something. You know what? We did miss some art, but that's okay. We'll put it on the next episode. Sorry, I just realized producer Josiah sent us some stuff. But we'll put it on the next show. Sorry about that, producer Josiah.
Oh, you know what? I think I had it.
Others.
I had it in my art folder, but yeah, I didn't.
That's okay. We'll get it next time. Sorry, it was a weird day today.
Yeah.
But thank you to producer Allie. Producer Allie, Gazlin Bonds in the chat. If you want to be like her, get some art on the show, you can send all that creative stuff to canarycryradio@gmail.com. Thanks again to Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps, and make sure to head to canarycrymerchperch.com.
Oh, did you want a jingle there?
No jingle. We always do the jingle.
Okay. Well, you always step on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's the gag. You do the jingle, I step on the jingle. And you can head to canarycry.community for a social experience with other Canarians that is not moderated by Facebook goons or Parlor goons, or any goons for that matter. I guess there's one Canary Cry goon who just makes sure nobody goes wild. But it's a good time. Canary Cry .community. Check it out. Now, there's other ways you can support the show. If you got friends, you got family, they're starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And you can help out the show by sharing it. Share it on your social media or whatever. Send it directly to friends and family and let them know that this is the place to be. Maybe you got some people who are a little hung up on they're on the Linwood train, and maybe they need to hear some other things that they've not heard before about Linwood and other people making similar claims. Go ahead and send them this episode or any episode. Either way, let them know that Canary Cry News Talk is here, and we'll be happy to be a part of their set of info that they can use to make sense of the world. And if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right, just ask Noah. And remember, folks, one more time, we'll be back on January 15th. That's this Friday, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Keep in mind, before the end of this stream, we'll be playing the Canary Cry mixtape, which is a bunch of music created by producers of the show, and you're just gonna love it. So stick around for a little decompression after the show here. All right, Gons, any last words?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please share the show with friends and family, and appreciate all of you being here and continuing to support us. It really means a lot to me and Basil and our families and everything else. So have a good Wednesday.
That's right. Okay, folks, make sure to tune. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Everybody loves waffles. It will kill.
Sinful generation!
Called it.
A man and a woman.
He's a Satanist!
Stop this progress before it is too late!
You can't handle the truth.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
There's a line drawn in
light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
Magic mushrooms.
Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered. Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt. Fluoride. Oxytocin. Get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
All right, weird.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all away.
Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way.
Left wing, right wing, 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 left wing, right wing.
Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Same bird.
Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood.
Politic.
Many bloodsuckers.
Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. 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 Don't let them drain you all the way.
Robot.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
It's a bidet. Don't get me started.
Something I ain't got all day. Get on my YouTube, debates like the sun. See what's new, demonetization. Know what's this? To my surprise, I spot a big pair of googly eyes. Click on the video and turn up the sound. What is this gem that I have found?
Humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
The truth.
You're fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you, yeah, you, in my people's zoo.
That was nice.
Hallelujah. This is the way.